Welcome to Sleepy Chronicles. Whatever today brought you, the noise, the rush, the things that didn't go the way you wanted, you can set all of that down now. Lie back. Put your headphones in. Let your shoulders drop and your jaw unclench. This is your time, and there is nowhere else you need to be. If you enjoy what we do here, quiet voices, slow history, and the kind of stories that make your eyelids feel heavier with each sentence, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It costs nothing and means quite a lot. And let us know in the comments where in the world you're listening from. We read every single one. Tonight, we're going to medieval France, to a monastery in Burgundy, to a room full of candlelight and careful hands, and to the first day of a life lived in almost complete silence. So get comfortable. We'll take it from here. You arrive at dusk. The monastery sits at the top of a long hill, gray stone against a grayer sky. The gate is already open. You pass through it, and the wind drops immediately. The sound of the road disappears. What remains is a deep, structural silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of something older. Stone and patience and centuries of the same hours kept in the same order. A monk leads you across the courtyard without speaking. The cold here has weight. It lives in the walls. The Scriptorium is up a flight of worn stone steps, long and narrow, lined with wooden desks beneath high windows. Each desk holds a candle, an inkwell, a small knife. At the far end, one candle still burns. A man sits beneath it, not writing, just present. Friar Anselm. Older than you expected, with hands that have been doing this work for 40 years. He looks at you completely, not unkindly, but without hurry. Then he moves to a desk near the window and places one hand flat on its surface. Your desk. You sit. That is when you see it. At the corner of the desk, half beneath a wooden board, a single page. Covered in a careful, even hand, letters small and precise. But it stops midway down. The last line trails into a long, thin stroke of ink that runs to the edge and ends there. Someone was writing this and stopped. You don't touch it, but you look at it longer than you mean to. Anselm sets down fresh vellum, an inkwell, a quill. He glances at the page in the corner. Something moves across his face, brief, unreadable. He says nothing and moves away. The work is harder than you expected. Anselm gives you a psalm to copy. The quill requires a particular pressure. 3 times in the first hour, you press too hard and the ink spreads. Each time you scrape carefully with the small knife until the surface is smooth again. The silence here is unlike any you have known. Not empty, full of breath and concentration and candles doing their slow, patient work. Every sound you make feels amplified. You learn to move less, to take up only the space you need. Outside, Vespers begins. Low voices, unison, rising through the stone. Anselm sets down his quill and leaves. You sit alone. You look at your page, then at the unfinished one in the corner. You don't touch it, but you think about it all the way to your cell. The cell is small. A bed, a blanket, a candle on a stone ledge. You sit on the edge of the bed and let the day settle. The silence followed you here from the Scriptorium, through the courtyard, up the stairs. It is not heavy. It is simply the condition of this place. Your hands still feel the quill, the resistance of the vellum, the way each letter has to be formed slowly, one deliberate stroke at a time. The candle burns low. You think of the unfinished page, the ink running to the edge and stopping. Someone sat where you sat and wrote until they didn't. The page has been waiting since then. For what? You don't know yet. The candle goes out. The darkness is complete. But the silence is beginning to feel familiar, and your body is heavier than it has been in a long time. The monastery breathes around you. Your eyes close. The first day releases you quietly, without argument, without rush, simply and all at once. The bell wakes you before light, not loud, low, and steady, moving through the stone walls the way water moves through earth. You lie still for a moment, orienting yourself. The ceiling, the cold, the particular silence of this place that is already, after one night, beginning to feel like a presence rather than an absence. You dress in the dark and follow the sound. Prime. The monks file into the chapel in a long, quiet line, hoods up, hands folded. You find a place at the edge and stand the way they stand, still, eyes forward, breathing slowly. The chanting begins. Low voices, unison, filling the vaulted space above you and pressing gently downward. You don't know the words, but your body responds to the rhythm anyway, the way bodies do when something is older than language. Anselm is already at his desk when you reach the Scriptorium. He looks up once, checking that you are there, that you are the same person as yesterday, then gestures to your desk without speaking. On it, fresh vellum, a sharpened quill, and a new passage, longer than yesterday's, denser. The letters in the exemplar are smaller, the abbreviations unfamiliar. You sit and begin. Sometime in the mid-morning, a figure settles at the desk beside yours. Younger than you, perhaps, with ink already on his fingers, and a quality of quiet that seems native to him rather than imposed. He sets out his materials with practiced economy and begins to write without preamble. Friar Luke. You know his name only because Anselm acknowledged him with it once, briefly, on your way in. Luke does not look at you, but after a while, when you reach for the inkwell at the same moment he does, he pulls back and waits, a small gesture, unhurried, with a slight incline of the head that means something between go ahead and I see you. That is all. But in the silence of the Scriptorium, it is enough to feel like a conversation. The error happens in the early afternoon. You are on the third line of a new section, concentrating when the quill catches a small roughness in the vellum you didn't feel in time, and the ink spreads. Not a small spread. A long dark stain pulling across 2 lines of careful work, ruining them completely. You set the quill down. The feeling that moves through you is familiar and unwelcome. The particular weight of having tried carefully and failed anyway. Of being new in a place where everyone else has had 40 years to stop making this mistake. Your hands are still. Your chest is not. Anselm is beside you before you hear him move. He looks at the page, at the stain, at you. He does not sigh. He does not shake his head. He simply picks up the page, sets it aside, and places a fresh sheet of vellum in front of you. Then he points, without touching it, to the place in the exemplar where you should begin again. That is all. You pick up the quill and begin again. Across the desk, Luke does not look up, but his quill slows almost imperceptibly for just a moment, then continues. It is such a small thing, but you feel it. By evening, the Scriptorium is empty except for you. Anselm left an hour ago. Luke before that. The candles are burning low, and the light has shifted into that particular late-day quality, golden, slightly melancholy, the kind that makes everything look like it is being remembered rather than seen. You finish your line, set down your quill, and then, for the first time, you reach out and touch the unfinished page. The vellum is cool and slightly rough. The ink has long since dried. The letters sit flat and permanent, each one formed with a steadiness that speaks of long practice. You trace the last line with your eyes, not your finger. The words make sense individually. Together, they are building towards something, an argument, or a confession. You cannot yet tell which. And then the long, thin stroke at the end, running to the edge, stopping. You sit with it for a moment in the failing light. Then you cover it carefully with the wooden board, the way you found it, and go. The cell, the candle, the rough blanket. You lie down and look at the ceiling and let the day move through you slowly. The error, the fresh page, Luke's quill slowing for just a moment, the feel of old vellum under your fingertips. This place asks something particular of you, not just skill, not just silence, something slower, a willingness to begin again without making too much of the beginning. You are not sure you know how to do that yet, but you picked up the quill. The candle dims. The monastery settles into its night hours, keeping its rhythm the way it always has, indifferent and steady, and somehow comforting in its indifference. Your eyes close. The second day lets you go. The same way the stone holds the cold, without drama, without announcement. It is simply done. The bell no longer wakes you. You are already awake when it sounds, lying still, listening to the monastery find its morning. The sequence is familiar now. Prime, the shuffle of sandals in the corridor, the cold chapel, the chanting. Your body has begun to keep the hours without being asked. This is how belonging starts, you think. Not with a feeling, with a rhythm. Anselm is waiting when you reach the Scriptorium, not at his desk, at yours. He stands beside it with the unfinished page in his hands, not the wooden board, the page itself, and sets it in front of you when you sit. You look at it, then at him. He places a finger on the last completed line, then on the blank space below. Then he looks at you. You understand. You are to continue it. He moves to his desk without explanation. You pick up your quill. The handwriting in the exemplar is not difficult to follow. Small, even unhurried. You match it carefully, letter by letter, line by line. For a while it is just work, the familiar concentration, the pressure of the quill, the smell of ink. Then you reach the new section. The text shifts, subtly at first, a word you don't expect, a phrase that sits oddly against what came before. You slow down, read ahead in the exemplar, read again. The passage is describing a practice, something done in secret, in a particular place, at a particular hour. The language is careful, layered, almost coded, but the shape of it is clear enough if you are paying attention. And you are paying attention. You set the quill down for a moment. Look at the words you have just copied onto fresh vellum in your own hand. They are the same words, but now they are also yours. Luke is at the adjacent desk, working steadily. You look at him. He does not look up. You look back at the page, then at him again, willing him somehow to feel it. He does. His quill slows. His eyes move to your page without turning his head, a careful, sideways attention. He reads what you have written. You watch his face. Nothing changes in it. But his quill stops completely for the length of 3 breaths. Then he begins again, and does not look at you, and does not look at the page. But his shoulders have shifted slightly. A tension that wasn't there before, held very still, the way you hold something fragile. He knows what it means. That much is clear. Bernard arrives just before Vespers. You hear him before you see him, footsteps that are different from the others, heavier, more deliberate, the footsteps of someone who does not modify themselves for the silence of a room. He enters without pausing at the door. He is broad-shouldered, older, with a prior's cross at his chest, and eyes that move quickly across the room, taking inventory. You understand, not appreciating. He walks the length of the Scriptorium slowly. He stops at your desk. He looks at the page, at the new lines in your hand, continuing the old ones. Something moves across his face, fast and controlled, gone before it fully arrives. He looks at you. Anselm's instruction, he says. His voice is low, careful. Yes, you say. He holds your gaze for a moment longer than is comfortable. Then he continues to the end of the room, speaks briefly with Anselm in a voice too low to follow, and leaves. The door closes. Luke does not look up, but his quill has stopped again. The cell, the candle. You sit with the image of Bernard's face, that fast, controlled thing that moved across it when he saw the page. He recognized the words, "You are certain of it," which means someone, at some point, decided they should not be copied, and yet the page was on your desk, and Anselm put it there. You think of the original hand, careful, unhurried, forming each letter with intention, writing towards something, and then the long stroke running to the edge. What did they find, you wonder, that made them stop mid-sentence? The question settles in you, not urgently, but steadily, the way ink settles into vellum. Permanent, patient. The candle dims. Outside, the last bell of the day moves through the stone. Your eyes are heavy. The question is still there, but it is quieter now, folded into the dark alongside everything else the day has left behind. You close your eyes. The third night takes you slowly, and without argument. Something is different before you can name it. The bell sounds the same. The corridor, the chapel, the chanting, all the same. But there is a quality to the morning that wasn't there yesterday. A tension carried in the air, the way cold is carried, present everywhere, and belonging to nothing in particular. You take your place in the chapel and breathe slowly, and let the chanting move through you. But your mind keeps returning to the page, to Bernard's face, to the long, thin stroke of ink running to the edge and stopping. By the time you reach the Scriptorium, you have decided nothing. But you are more awake than usual. The page is on your desk. Anselm stands beside it, one hand resting near it, but not on it. He looks at you when you sit. Then he looks at the page, then back at you. He wants you to continue. You pick up the quill. The text deepens as you go. What was coded before becomes clearer now, not careless, but cumulative, each new line adding weight to the ones before it. The practice being described is specific, a place within the monastery itself, an hour, a set of words spoken in a particular order, and underneath all of it, a claim, quiet but unambiguous, that runs directly against the authority of the prior. You copy it carefully, letter by letter. Your hand is steady, your breathing is not. This is what was stopped. This is what someone sat down to record and was prevented from finishing. The long stroke at the end of the page is not a trailing thought. It is an interruption. You set the quill down and look at what you have written. The words are yours now too. That is the nature of copying. You cannot pass a thing through your hands without it leaving something behind. Luke appears at your desk just before midday. He does not sit. He stands beside you for a moment, as if checking something on his own work. And in that moment, he sets a small folded piece of vellum at the corner of your desk. The gesture so natural, so unremarkable, that no one watching would see it as anything other than accident. Then he goes back to his desk. You unfold it under the edge of the exemplar. 3 words, written small. Leave it incomplete. You look at him. He is writing steadily, eyes on his own page, expression unchanged. But his jaw is set in a way it wasn't this morning. You fold the vellum and close your hand around it. Bernard arrives in the early afternoon. This time, he does not walk the length of the room. He comes directly to your desk and stands on the other side of it, close enough that you would have to lean back to look up at him comfortably, which you do not do. The page, he says, quietly, almost gently. You look at Anselm. Anselm sets down his quill. He rises from his desk with the unhurried steadiness of someone who has been waiting for this moment and has decided in advance how to meet it. He crosses the room and stands beside you, not between you and Bernard, but beside you, which is a different thing entirely. He looks at Bernard. Bernard looks at him. The silence between them is not the silence of the Scriptorium. It is older and harder, and full of a history you are not part of and cannot read. Finally, Bernard speaks. This is not yours to decide, Anselm. Anselm says nothing. He reaches down, picks up the page, your copy, and the original both, and places them together face down on the desk. His hand rests on top of them. Bernard holds his gaze for a long moment. Then he turns and leaves. The door closes. Luke's quill has not moved. At the end of the day, as you are preparing to go, Anselm stops beside your desk. He looks at you for a moment, that complete, unhurried look. Then he speaks. One sentence, low and even. Some things are written because they must not be forgotten. He moves to the door, pauses with his hand on the frame. Sleep well, he says, and goes. You stand alone in the Scriptorium, with the candles burning low, and his words sitting in the air where he left them. The cell, the blanket, the dark. You lie down and hold the words carefully. Some things are written because they must not be forgotten. You think of the original hand. of someone sitting where you sit, writing what they knew, writing toward a conclusion they never reached, of the long stroke running to the edge. They were stopped, but the page remained, and now the words are in your hand too. The candle is out. The monastery breathes around you, steady and indifferent, keeping its hours. Your eyes close. Tomorrow you will have to decide something, but that is tomorrow. Tonight the dark is soft, and the stone is quiet, and Anselm's voice is still somewhere in the room. The fourth night takes you slowly, and without argument, you wake before the bell, not because of sound, because of the decision already made. You realize, somewhere in the hours of sleep, you did not choose it consciously, but it is there, settled and quiet, the way things are when the body knows before the mind catches up. You dress, you go. The Scriptorium is cold and still when you arrive. Anselm is at his desk. Luke is at his. The page is on yours, face up, exactly where it was left. The final lines in your hand, the blank space below them, waiting. You sit. You pick up the quill. You write slowly, the way the original hand wrote, unhurried, deliberate, each letter formed with intention. The text completes itself through you, the argument arriving at its conclusion the way a river arrives at the sea, not dramatically, just inevitably. The final sentence takes a long time, not because it is difficult, because you understand as you write it that this is what the original hand was reaching for when it was stopped. This is what the long, thin stroke was interrupted from becoming. You finish it, set the quill down. The page is complete. Luke looks up. He reads it from across the desk without moving closer. Something in his face releases, not relief exactly, but the easing of a tension that has been held for several days. He nods once, returns to his work. Bernard comes in the early afternoon. He sees the page from the door. You watch him see it, the way his eyes find it and stay there, the slight change in how he holds himself. He walks to your desk. He picks up the page, reads it, sets it down. He looks at Anselm, who has risen from his desk and crossed the room with that same unhurried steadiness. They stand on opposite sides of you, and the silence between them is the same hard silence as yesterday, full of old history. This changes nothing, Bernard says. It changes what is written, Anselm says. That is enough. Bernard looks at the page once more. Then he turns and walks to the door and does not look back. The door closes. The Scriptorium settles back into its silence. But lighter now, the way a room feels after something that has been held too long is finally set down. At the end of the day, Anselm comes to your desk. He picks up the page, your copy, the completed one, and holds it out to you. You look at him. He waits. You take it. He returns to his desk, begins putting away his materials for the evening. Nothing more is said, because nothing more needs to be. The cell, the candle, the page on the stone ledge beside the light. You sit on the edge of the bed and look at it. 5 days. A room full of silence. A hand that wrote until it was stopped. And a page that waited. And you passing through this place at this particular moment. For whatever reason places choose the people they choose. You think of what it means to write something down, not to be read necessarily, not even to be understood, but so that it exists somewhere outside the one mind that holds it, so that if that mind is interrupted mid-sentence, mid-thought, at the end of a long, thin stroke of ink, the thing itself remains. Is that what all writing is? You wonder. A small argument against forgetting. You don't answer it. You just hold it. The candle dims. Outside, the last bell moves through the stone, and the monastery folds itself into the night the way it always has, steadily, without drama, keeping its hours. Your eyes close. The page is still there on the ledge, the words on it permanent and patient. The 5th night takes you gently, the way this place does everything, without argument, without rush. And now the story rests here, in this cell, in this monastery, in this particular silence that has been kept for centuries and will be kept long after. But before you sleep, I want to speak to you for a moment. You came here tonight, and let yourself be somewhere else for a while. You lay down, you listened. You followed a quiet story through 5 evenings in a place that asked nothing of you except your attention. That is not a small thing. I hope it brought you a little closer to rest. If these stories have been good company, if Anselm's steadiness, Luke's quiet loyalty, or the weight of an unfinished page gave you somewhere gentle to be tonight, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps more than you know, and it means we get to keep making these for you. We'll be back with another story, another place, another slow evening somewhere in history. Until then, sleep well, wherever you are. Good night.